Hi, this is Bonnie McDonald Dixon and my wonderful friend Ann Crawford, and we're here today to just go through the interesting conversation here about careers. Where are you with your career and what's going on in 2023? And I just want to introduce Ann here as an amazing, amazing person who has. Um, she has been a career transition coach for over 17 years. She shares just a highly effective process that is supporting you and creating the career and personal lives that you've just really always wanted, and especially kind to everyone. She specializes in military personnel returning back to civilian life. And so, with that, we'll just share a little bit more about myself. I'm Bonnie McDonald Dixon. I've had a portfolio career. I was not the traditional person, but I've always been a lifelong health advocate, a miracle ready coach. I'm a co host, Storyvan TV, and an author of How to Get a Job You Love. And I was also in Change One Belief with the Perfect Job Story. And I'm also a speaker, a horse and coffee lover. And I hold space for people to become healthy, wealthy campers. And with that, Anne and I are going to start sharing a little bit about career choices, career changes, and transitioning to what you've always wanted. So, Anne, thank you for joining me today and us just partnering together to help so many people get what they've always wanted. And can you share a little bit about of people when they speak about, oh, I don't have the money or time to even look at changing careers because I'm so stressed out where I'm at?
That's true. I think everybody gets paralyzed actually with the dysfunction of where they're working. And as we were discussing before, if you don't invest in yourself, who's going to do it for you? And I honestly believe that a bunch of, or most of my clients have really thought about the career transition process in hiring a coach for a very long time. And they think they can do it themselves, and some can. But in the end, as we're going to talk today, it's about happiness and alignment. And they must align themselves with a career that brings some happiness. And Bonnie and I are just here to help you figure out how to do that. So that's basically what the coaching is all about here.
Mhm.
How about you, Bonnie?
Yeah, a lot of times people say, "Oh, I don't have the money," and I don't have time because they're working in a very stressful job, whatever the job is. And but what I like to bring forth is what are the ramifications if you don't change your life and stay in that trajectory of an unhappy life? And many of us think maybe they're coming back for a second time, but many people don't.
Yeah.
And you have this one life to live. And my husband and I were traveling on our honeymoon, and we met two people who happened to have worked for the US Postal Service. And they said, we worked 25 years and just hated our job.
Mm.
Now that's so interesting because I myself worked for the US Postal Service. The job itself was fabulous. I loved getting paid to walk around and deliver mail and talk to people. But the people I worked with at that moment in time in that particular office were very, very unhappy. And I chose to leave because I thought I can't live my life working and being surrounded with unhappy people. It
Right.
kind of made me sick to my stomach all the time. And even though, again, the job physically was okay, the pay was pretty good at the time, I got some benefits, it wasn't too far to drive. I just realized I was not really in alignment with what they were wanting. I also was a really good worker. I showed up one day a year. I might call in sick, but you were not rewarded for that. You were rewarded for speed, and I was just an ordinary person doing my job every day. And I realized I was not appreciated.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. So if we don't change, and I couldn't agree with you more. Have you met people who just keep working doing the
Yep.
same old, same old?
I'll be honest with you, there's quite a few of them that will not leave no matter what. Now, I can understand that if they've been there for 25 years in their job and they say, I only have 3 more years left before I retire, then we talk about coping mechanisms here because they will lose a pension and things like that. I'm not talking really about them, but there are people who almost thrive off of being miserable. That's all they have known in their careers, and it makes me very sad. And when we discuss options, they get really excited, but they don't think it's possible because they've never thought outside of their perimeters. So it's very discouraging when you've met somebody who is so down and out. And like we discussed, how can they afford not to have the coaching? If you don't invest in yourself, like I said, no one's going to do it for you. So find the money. You can always budget it. Like we talked before in another one of our episodes, if you can afford a coffee or a newspaper, I hate to say it, a newspaper is astronomically high now, for at least a week, then you can afford coaching. You can.
That's such a good point. There was a book years ago called The Latte Factor, and we often don't realize how we fritter money away.
Yeah.
We're frittering it away. But if we actually do a budget and really pay attention, we'll say,
Right.
oh, wow, that's where I'm spending my money. And I can move that amount of money somewhere else. I had a girlfriend that bought houses that way. She would stop buying lattes and she would buy a house.
Yeah.
An investment. So back to ourselves. We probably have one life to live here.
Yeah.
And at the end of our career, do we want to look back and say, wow, that was a great run? And the other thing, Anne, I would love you to speak to this. A lot of people think, oh, I only have one career. No, actually, when you retire, people often can explode into another career that they just love, because retirement in this day and age does not mean sitting at watching TV all day. It's usually you're craving to be of service in this world. Can you speak to that as far as a job transition change
Sure.
into retirement even?
Right. I just love how you posted that. That was beautiful. I'll use an example as a truck driver that I was coaching. He was in his late 50s, burnt out, said he couldn't do this anymore. But then when reality came, he said, well, maybe I could do it a few more years. And I said, let's talk about what retirement looks for and what you want to transition into. And we really went deep into what things could he cope with today to extend his trucking time until he wanted to retire at 62, so he really didn't have that long to go. So we thought, let's talk about de-stressors. And he said he used to ride his bicycle all the time after work. It was great, but he just hasn't found the time. I said, okay. And what other things do you love? His core inner drive was traveling, and he used to do that all the time. And he said, I love Europe. I said, have you ever thought to combine your love for biking and going over to Europe? And he said, well, that's a good idea. And I said, what are you going to make as your priorities? And he said, well, now that I think I probably won't be retiring for 4 years, maybe I can pick up the bicycling after work. So that's one goal that we started. And it turned into him really getting into shape and feeling so much better he could cope. But let's move it onward here just a little bit more. Then he saved his money. Then he went over to Europe and did a bicycling tour and loved it. He said, this is what I want to do every moment of my day. It was so freeing. There was no stress. It was wonderful. I encouraged him to book another tour, as they say. And he said, well, I don't know if I can afford it. I said, make it happen. I said, have you ever suggested for volunteering your services or something over for a bicycle traveling tourist situation? And he said, well, I hadn't thought about that at all. So there he goes. He goes over there for 2 weeks. It cost him his airfare. The tour guide man said, you know what? We could really use American and Spanish speaking people to be in our tourism for our clients, because we cut them all over the world. He did that. He said, I don't need to be paid, for this situation right now. They gave him room and board and a bike. He loved it. The next year, now we're coping here with the whole year of being in the trucking industry. Now he's 62. He said, I am now going over to Europe at least 3 or 4 times a year, getting paid because now I am helping them expand their bicycling tours and into different countries. We've set up a whole new system where it's not only like Switzerland and Norway. Now we're going to do Paris. It just exploded, and they needed his expertise. And that's how he blended into a totally different career outside of his trucking when he retired.
And that is literally heartwarming,
It is. He's
to
happy
think
as a
that
clam.
it's just it makes my heart sing for this person. And so in speaking that for everyone, are you ready to create your plan B for 2023? We are going into third quarter now, our second quarter of the year. We've got 9 more months. Anne and I are here to help facilitate some ideas for you
Mhm.
to get where you'd like to go. Even if it's a quote pipe dream, that's even better. We want you to
Yeah.
dream, but there's the next step that we'll talk about in a few minutes of how to facilitate and make that happen. So, and one of the biggest things here is your happiness. And we say, well, what's that got to do with my job? Everything.
Yeah.
And so, Anne, share this lovely, lovely quote that you just, it's one of your faves, I believe.
Yeah. Cheryl Richardson is a great mentor for me. I really like it. I really like her, and I like the way she thinks and things like that. And she motivated me to get really into coaching when I first started. So she was wonderful. Would you like to read it, Bonnie? Because you have your glasses on.
I do. I do. And for some reason, the slide control's in my way. So
Oh, okay. All right. So I'll put my glasses on, everybody. Get ready for the binoculars. It says, I am a shining star, and I surround myself with people who encourage my brightness. And isn't that the coolest thing ever? Because
Mhm,
I know so many people who are in jobs where they hate the task, but the people keep them there,
mhm,
or vice versa. But you must have happiness in your heart to propel you forward in anything that you're looking for in your life. So you have to really think about this and think of what does happiness mean? And it really is it changes your energy levels when you're happy.
mhm,
You are
mhm.
more focused on things, I think. You feel satisfied in life more. What are your ideas, Bonnie, on that?
Absolutely. I think in my portfolio career, a little bit of my juice is when I'm doing something new, and that gives me a lot of juice and the happiness. And I've had people ask me, "Oh, you're always so happy." And I think it's because, in a good way, I'm propelled to and attracted to
Mhm.
what gives me joy. And that's for sure. Right now, I'm in a lot of joy because I'm doing something I totally love, which is working and sharing with you, Anne. And then also I have again portfolio type career. I have several other things that I do that give me great joy. And this is a funny story. I was walking by last summer a little Kukuli, which is a coffee, Native American coffee cafe,
Hmm.
and it said help wanted. And I thought, I wonder what they want.
Yeah.
So I wandered in and I said, what do you need? And they looked at me and said, can you make bannock? And I said, I don't know, but it sounds like fun. And bannock is a dough that is probably from Scotland originally, but the First Nations have picked up on it many, many years ago. And it's water and flour and yeast, a little sugar, no fat in it. Anyway, you can either bake it or fry it. Well, don't ask me why, but I just love this little job. I do know why, because I love to cook and bake.
Oh,
And for
okay.
4 to 5 hours on Saturdays, I get to go in and bake my heart out and have so much fun creating. and they pay me to do it, Anne.
Wow, that's the best of all
They
sometimes.
pay me to do it. And the fun thing is, even though I'm making it, for me, I have to be careful what I eat, but occasionally I buy one. But often it's more about the creativity of making them. And one man walked up and made sure that to let me know, the baker, that it was the best cinnamon bun he had ever eaten. And
Ooh,
just that, oh, thank you.
yes.
So do I make a lot of money over? No, but does it give me total joy on a Saturday morning? Yes.
Yeah.
So it can be something as simple as that, or other things that I do that create more income for the amount of time that I do. But
Mhm.
happiness, when you meet someone happy, you see that they're healthier,
Mhm.
they have a better outlook on life.
True.
They attract other people and opportunities to themselves when
Right.
they're happy. And so I like to share with people in my book, How to Get a Job You Love. Every job that you have is the perfect job. And you'd say, oh, I hate my job because of blah, blah, blah. I want you to start looking at that job. Why are you there? What attracted you to the job? Maybe it was convenience. Like I just walked in that little place and it was convenient, but it gives me joy there. So if you're doing something out of convenience, say, well, what attracted me there? What am I getting out of it? I also get paid, to go there.
Right.
And what other thing could I do that would give me just as much joy, but maybe more pay? You can look at it that way too. There's a lot of different ways, but the happy factor will open the doors for you if you want to go do something else. Because if you give your very best to any job you have, if you're cleaning the toilets, I used to muck horse corrals when I was a kid.
Yeah.
It was pretty gross, but it made me happy to be around horses, right?
That's right.
But it lifted me to working at a horse ranch later on.
Mm.
So every job that you have can propel you to another job, career, another
Right.
pathway. So look at your job as an opportunity to learn and learn as much as you can.
Right.
And if the people aren't very nice, then learn to be nicer than they are.
Right.
People will be attracted to you for
Yes.
that.
True.
But
That's
I think
exactly true.
your quote is just beautiful and perfect and
Mm.
very, very important for everyone. Just to make a note of it in your little notebook. I forgot to say, make sure you have a sheet of paper here.
Mhm.
Take down some notes. But happiness should be on your priority list for daily life.
Right.
So there you go. So here's some ideas, Anne, of maybe we could discuss this because I know you do it with your clients about the different things that they could start with for
Right.
making them happy.
I'll tell you, I want everybody out there to really take a really close look at this great list that we devised yesterday, because so many of these things actually are 100% of what I need in order to be the best coach that I can be. And I just wrote about this morning, actually. For me, community is very, very important, to help others in your community and to have a purpose. A lot of my clients, they don't see the purpose of what their work is doing. And let's discuss this just a little bit further, what I mean. I've explained before about an accountant who was doing the numbers, and he loves the numbers and he likes figuring out things, and he was doing tax returns, but he didn't see the results. He didn't see the purpose of it. He knew it was to provide refunds and get the best deal for his clients, but there was something really missing in that. And so when we discuss, just like the retired man, what do you want to do next? I said, put yourself in another environment. And just like Bonnie was talking about with being around happy people and people that have purpose and things like that, that's what I encouraged him to do. And he did like it's not like a YMCA. It was something similar where they helped other people, but there was other things going on. There was art, there was a gym, there was facilities and computer rooms and things like that. And he really loved the environment, and he was around happy people, and he saw results instantly when people came in and had problems. He saw the physical therapist person change somebody's life so they can walk better. He just saw things evolving, and he kept thinking, what can my numbers do here? And when the head accountant left, he took over his job because, after all, if you don't put yourself in an environment that is really loving and caring and really speaks to you, you won't have those opportunities down the line. And within 2 years, he didn't realize that he had saved the place that he was working so much money that they were able to build a wing that they had been saving for 10 years. And they actually brought him in there and said, thank you. This is dedicated to you because in the last 2 years you have been working here, you have brought so much joy, so much savings that we can't even begin to thank you. And he was crying. He said, this is what the numbers want. I wanted the numbers to do this for me, to see a purpose, that my gift for numbers is helping other people. So I want you to think about your career. If you're in an environment that doesn't give you purpose, start thinking about what is the most important thing for you. Is it your ability to talk to management? Is it will you make a difference in the world? And sometimes that's outside of your career. But like for me, it's community, it's flexibility. I need that, and I need a purpose in creating vision for other people. How about you, Bonnie? What do you need to help with other people's? And I know you're dedicated to helping the wellness of so many other people in their pain management.
Thank you, Anne. Indeed. Um, Absolutely. Community is huge for me to be wanted, to be needed, and to be able to help others. Um, that outcome that make a difference. It's huge for me to
Yeah.
have people go, thank you. And even if I didn't get a thank you, I know sometimes it did help someone, and maybe they don't even recognize it. But I do believe that I worked in the health food industry for many years in the retail, and
Mm-hmm.
people would come in and say, I've tried everything. Do you have anything here? And I just ask the simplest of questions to people. What do you eat every day? Do you sleep well? And it helped them think through. So really being a facilitator for the other person to become aware of their own body, that was so much fun
Yeah.
making a difference for people. And again, people saying, oh my gosh, I didn't think I'd ever feel good again, and to help people that way. And the flexibility is really key to me
Yeah.
because I just love, I'll be doing something for a while and then I go, oh, I want to go do this over here. Well, in a typical, say, career, you can't just go, hey, I think I'll just go do this over here. But I've always loved the flexibility of my life. And let's see what else. Vision, kind of looking forward, as you were talking about. The vision makes me happy of what will my next year, 5 years, 10 years. And in getting into three-quarter time myself, it's not as if we have forever. So we want to make whatever we do really count.
Right.
And I think as we're younger, it looks like we have so far away,
I know.
but the reality is we don't know how long we're going to be here on this earth. So waiting to get retired to go do what you want, you can actually, in my book, I talk about, and you did too, volunteering with something you love to do while you're working this job. It can often take you off into another career or give you that joy that you need in your
Right.
life. So it gives you juice and vitality. That's it. Gives you, when you're happy, you're vital,
Right.
you're joyful, and you exude it, and other people are attracted to you for that
Yep.
reason. Mhm.
It's very true.
Yeah, so have everyone here on the call, please go ahead, maybe take a screenshot of this, and then, I always say, talk to yourself. It's good for you. look at these. These are just some items, but um, my trick is always to get a 3 by 5 card deck. Start writing out everything that makes you
Mhm.
happy, everything you've ever wanted to do. And you'd say, well, why would I want to do that? Because to get it out on paper is really
Right.
really important. And then you can take that deck of cards and say, I want to do this and this and this now, and this and this and this someday. And when you start getting these now piles, that's what you really want to focus on.
Hmm.
Yeah. So
Totally agree.
you can do a happy pile, and you can do a
Hmm.
say activity pile or job file, career file. You can do different piles, even for relationships, because believe me, careers are relationships.
Right.
Careers, if you stay connected, this is an old saying, your network is your net worth.
Oh,
By
very good.
staying in touch with people, I met or was listening to a woman this morning on a call. She had stayed in touch with someone for 10 years. And in doing so, she introduced another woman together. Oh my gosh, it is going to make this woman extremely wealthy because of the connection they had.
Right.
And just she'd stayed in connection with one person and shared her with another person. Oh my gosh, it was amazing. So remember, your net worth is your network is your net worth. Keep those connections going.
Right.
Reach out, even if you hadn't talked to someone for 10 years, pick up the phone and just say, how are you? And people will respond like, oh my gosh, they remembered me, and
Yeah.
no one ever calls.
Right. Right. And it's instrumental in getting your next opportunity if you're out of work
Yeah. Oh,
to network
absolutely.
big time.
Now, this is a topic that is dear to Anne's heart, I know. And she was bringing that up while we were deciding what to talk about. And that's called alignment. And so, Anne, I'm going to have you talk a little bit about alignment right now.
Just think about when you're building something, it all has to be in alignment, or it's not going to go together here. It's not going to fit. The structure won't be safe. And it's the same thing with your next job opportunity here. It doesn't have to be perfect, but it better be aligned with the core values of who you are. So I'm just going to talk briefly about when I was working as, believe it or not, an assistant tennis pro at a country club. No one in their million of years would have known that. But I did like tennis in high school and played actually pretty well. So I knew the structure of the game. I knew the rules. I was running the pro shop. I was great at buying, budgeting, and all the billing that came in. And you wonder, what was the alignment? The alignment for me was I was working in a beautiful environment outside. The people that worked at the country club were just, we became one big happy family. And that's what really kept me there. There was a pure alignment with the same personalities I had, jokesters, happy people, and things that they did during the day were so much fun. I had access to a lot of things that most people didn't, pools, and uh, they had polo there, so seeing the horses, it was magical. Actually, it had a very flexible work schedule, which I absolutely loved, and I got like 3 weeks off during the summer, which was unheard of. So, of course, I didn't have the salary of somebody who was 40 hours, but that didn't bother me at the time. I just said my happiness at work is the most important thing. So, when we talk about alignment, I had my environment, I had my people, and I had flexibility. And those were very key to me at the time as being an important part of my alignment for my happiness. Do you
Mhm.
have an example, Bonnie, of something that you've been through or something
Yes.
that can attest to alignment?
Yes. I was working in a health food store, wholesale retail, just loved it. And I was in my happy place.
Mhm.
But what happened was my husband at the time left, and I realized I was missing some income. And I thought, oh, gee, I'm where my age is and I need some more income. So I actually literally picked up, moved from California to Washington State and created a little brokerage. I created my own job. And my happy alignment was I always wanted to see the Northwest. I got to travel
Right.
for a living and get paid for it and see all the health food stores. And since I knew how to run one, I
Yeah.
could again, the community itself of the natural products industry is wonderful. And then I was able to help people um, be better business people. I was a consultant. I was just, everything was lined up. I just loved, loved, loved that part of my life. And I look back at it so fondly.
Yeah.
And on top of it all, I was dancing, and there's the best dancing ever in the Northwest. So I had my side fun thing that I did, which was swing dancing and country western dancing, all of that. And then daily, I got to have my windows down and my hair flying and getting paid
Yeah. Awesome.
to do it. And
Yeah.
well, how cool is that?
That is awesome. It's really great. Like Thelma and Louise. It's wonderful.
It was. Eventually, I actually, gave up my brokerage and worked for a company, and the company itself, I got paid really well, and I got benefits, and I got the company car on top of it.
See, people, this is what happens when you're aligned. And then where Bonnie is such a happy person, she attracted all that great energy into her life.
Mhm,
It's
mhm.
really, truly magical.
It
So
wa it was magical for
yeah,
sure.
yeah.
I saw this picture, Anne,
Yes, it's
after we
perfect.
talked yesterday, and it just looked like everything's just flowing. So I guess that's what I wanna say to people is that feel your life. Is it flowing? Does it
Right.
feel good? Is it easy and smooth like that stair step of water? Just so of ease. It's not fighting going up the current.
Well, we had a perfect example we talked about yesterday. And this is how you can really tell about your attitude and alignment is when, and it's chronic right now, is so many people are being laid off and other people in the offices are made to do all the extra work for because the company refuses to hire anybody to replace them.
Right.
So you have to pay attention very carefully of what your attitude is when this happens. Do you immediately get enraged and think, oh, I'm being worked to death and I hate it? Or do you sit back and go, wait a minute, I don't like this, but what is in it for me? I'm going to be learning new skills. I'm taking on more responsibilities, and this can really help propel my career forward if I just decide to leave and do another, work for another company.
Mhm.
So it's all what do you put in your life to and your thoughts that align you with coping with difficult situations.
Oh, that's so true. Of a friend of mine worked for a big company, and they were doing the attrition thing. And this was back about 10 years ago. And she ended up doing the work of five people. And she was so stressed. She did end up leaving. But I must tell you, what she learned in that interim was how to be efficient, so
Yeah,
efficient. And in retirement, she's just as busy as she ever was, only she does it by volunteering for many organizations and doing raising money for Cancer Association. She's just such a go-getter, but it's that efficiency that she learned of having to they just kept compressing all these jobs on top of her.
right.
And but now she's in pure joy in her 3/4 time career, which is, I say, helping the world, making the world a better place. It's really interesting what we can learn under, well, what's the old adage? Diamonds are made under pressure.
Yeah, there you go. And they sparkle when they
And
come
they sparkle.
out.
So one of the things that Anne and I both feel very strongly, I know this, is for you to find a safe, trusted confidant, a guide, a mentor to discuss your options and opportunities.
Mhm.
Someone that's not vested in necessarily you having to do something, but really hearing you out.
Right.
And you've done this for so many years. What are some of the things that you can share why someone would want to hire a a mentor, a guide, a trusted confidant, literally hire them versus just someone off from their family or friends?
Right. Well, the mentor is such a huge, if you can get a good mentor, first of all, you better know what you really want to go into, because that's when the mentor will really be your best person, your best bet.
Mhm.
They will explain the nooks and crannies. Like, let's say you wanted to go into business. Let's say I actually was a mentor for somebody going into coaching because I was already a coach. So I really laid it on the line with that person and said, "Are you the personality that can deal with being a business owner? The twists and the turns, the great, the bad." And we had long talks about this, then narrowing her niche and things like that. Anybody that you reach out to has to be non-judgmental, and they cannot have um, a vested interest in the outcome. To be really honest with you, it's not good, because then they'll sway you. I We cannot do this thing that we call life alone, and we all need people to support us, but they have to be the right personality. There are some that are really rigid and go by the books, and you don't get a feeling of the other things that go along with what your dreams are all about. And that could be as simple as time management, marketing, where you want to put your hours into and things like that. They're just by the book and that's all they see. Then I wouldn't say that's a good person to seek out. But I think everybody has had somebody that they, whether it's a good friend or something, to support them during dark times. And I can't encourage this more than life itself, that please reach out to a good friend, somebody that you have an interest in what they're doing. If you want to be a mentor, be non-judgmental, but explain everything that goes along with what they want to get into. How
Mhm.
about you, Bonnie? Do you have a story or somebody that you do? Because in your line of business,
Mhm.
even when you started, you must have had somebody that you reached out to explain products and things like that, and what it does and
Mhm.
how you should handle this.
That's really interesting you bring that up. So I've known this woman for about 44 years at this point. Her name is Cheryl Hughes. She owns a health food store in Lancaster, California. And I got a note from her, and she is literally moving on after 40 years in business. But I knew her prior to when she owned her own business. I knew her when she was working in a little health food store. And I've watched her, and I worked for her before. The thing that I got was we choose a career path. And I asked her at one point, I said, I'm not very happy in my postal career, and I'd really like to learn how to run a health food store like yours. Would you be open to letting me come and see how the operation works? And she said, come on down.
Yeah.
She was not in fear that I'd go open a store next to her. I said, my goal is to open one about 90 miles from here. And so, anyway, I ended up volunteering 1 day a week for a year on my day off from the Postal Service. And I learned everything there was to know. Now, I thought funds were coming in, and it did not happen. A house that my former husband and I were to sell did not sell. And here I was really wanting to make a transition. And she looked at me after about a year and says, come work for me as a general manager, not
Wow.
not as just a cashier, as
Wow.
the general manager. I knew everything. I had done almost everything in the store, and it propelled me. This Cheryl was known throughout the U.S. She was president of the Southern California Natural Products Association. Because of my association with her
Mhm.
later in my career, all I had to say is I worked for Cheryl Hughes.
Wow.
And oh my gosh, it I I was able to get jobs. I was able to do so many things because I knew her. Where did it start? I volunteered, but I also was willing to ask her to be
Yes.
my mentor. And to this day, I am so happy for her. I'm leaping for joy for her. She's loved her career, but it's time for her and her husband to go do some traveling.
Hey.
And she's got it in someone's safe hands now. And she's really grown this business. I couldn't believe how much a little health food store could, you know, produce, but it gave jobs. She provided jobs for people. She provided
Right.
training for people. She provided a lot of people have worked there well over 25 years. That's amazing, you know.
Yeah.
So, yes, I found a confidant, and she's my friend, confidant. And even though I left after about 4 years, she was always in my life. I could always call her and say, "Hey, what about this job?" or "What about this?" And she was always there for me.
That's fabulous. You're
Yeah,
very lucky. You're
I
very
was
lucky.
very blessed. And so this is another Cheryl
And
Richardson's, and can you share that? Because we both fell in
um,
love with this.
I know that people start to heal the moment they are heard. And so many people in their jobs are not being heard. It just resonated with me because throughout life, you might have feelings or fears and you don't express them. And when you finally do, you either get severe negativity and results that you didn't want, or you get like you were talking about, where that woman said, "Come on in, Bonnie. I'd love to have you work for me." You have to
Mhm,
take a chance on this, everybody. You have
mhm,
to take a chance on applying for a job. You have to take a chance on voicing your needs. And if you voice your needs, whether it's in a marriage, relationship, friendship, or career, if you don't speak up, what's going to happen to you? And I know that one of the next slides is going to really, it's going to impact you.
yeah, it's not that one.
The other
There
ones,
we go, perspective.
yeah, and it's the wah 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 one too, but it really plays havoc inside of you. So speak up. Trust that you have something to give to other people. You're not risking anything. You really aren't. So that's what that slide means to me. And this love, I liked it because she's seeing something out there.
Mhm,
You and I are seeing something completely different. And
mhm.
that's what photography does. It evokes an emotion. I see achievement and wow, look what I've done, the beauty of the world. You, Bonnie, probably see something completely different.
It just takes my breath away in a good way. It's just like, wow, look at the whole world.
Yeah.
I know what it does. When I think about all the things any one of us have opportunity to do, I feel very blessed that I've been able to do as much as I have been.
Right.
We're each dropped into this world. Maybe that's the perspective. We're each dropped into this world,
Right.
and we've given our deck of cards. And some people say, wow, this is a hard deck of cards, but I'm going to figure it out. And they go on to do great things. And other people say, oh, look at this deck of cards. It's terrible. My life is terrible.
Yeah.
So it's reshuffling the deck of cards. It's
Mhm.
getting on top of the mountain and saying, what else is out there
Yeah.
that could bring me happiness and joy? It's really go to that top of that mountain, literally hike up there if you need to.
Mhm.
And being outdoors does often bring new perspective. I know that some First Nations, you go on a quest, like you go out on your own for a few days.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Other people go on silent retreats. That's
Mhm.
quite interesting to go on a silent retreat and only listen to your thoughts in your head.
Oh boy, that could be trouble. That's why you got to master what we're saying, people, because it's not going to be a pleasant 4 days.
Is the noise in my head bothering you?
Oh, that's my husband. This was about volunteering. So some of the slides got slipped in here. I guess we should touch base quickly on this. It's taking action steps. We're saying, here's the perspective, but taking the action steps really comes into play, because if you take no action, you'll still be sitting there.
Right. Exactly. You won't be able to get off that mountain.
I know. So, in saying that, I left this slide in from last time too. Your value to a workplace translate to your income potential.
Mhm.
Even if you're working a low paid
Right.
job right at the moment, your value is how much you're going to learn at that job. People say,
Yes.
oh, McDonald's. Do you know many people make quite a bit of money that started at McDonald's?
Exactly.
I know Eric Lofholm, a sales trainer, started at McDonald's. He makes
Right.
millions. Why? He learned systems. McDonald's was
Exactly.
not a hamburger joint, it was a systems
Mhm.
place.
It's true. It's true. I have
And
a military client that started off, he's in hospitality, and he started off as just a busboy, then a waiter, but he was learning the culture and how things ran in the restaurant. He took a course on making, cocktails, became a bartender. Now he's managing many restaurants.
wow,
It's just how you do it.
just how you do it.
That's how
So
you do it.
we're going to encourage everyone to take the straight three step, to take 3 minutes for your action plan. Now, we're not going to actually take 3 minutes
No,
now, but we want you, I say, do it every day for a week if you
right.
have to. And just get your journal and write down your heart. Let it flow. Even if you put the pencil to the paper and nothing comes out,
Yep.
if you sit there for 3 minutes or 5 minutes, things will start pouring out of you, believe
Mhm.
me. If you do it every day, even more comes out. If you do it even more, you've got your book written.
Right.
So
And
that's
your
good.
action steps won't be so overwhelming. They'll be
Exactly.
realistic. And when you
It'll give you
visually see them,
perspective.
yep,
Wouldn't it give you perspective?
yep.
So this is something, Annie, you speak to quite well about the emotion.
Oh boy, it is all about emotions. And let me tell you something. Fear is paralyzing, but it's a thought, everybody. It's something that you implanted in your mind that was going to go wrong. And let me tell you, I've had the fear of the unknown to the point where I really didn't get off the couch for a day or two. And then I said to myself, that perspective, that person on the mountain was right there and said, you can either stay in this state or get off your fanny and make some changes and reach out for help. This was one woman that said, Ann, I'll take all your email, your accounts that just got deleted off the face of the earth. Your entire business is gone. We'll start a new one. And this is how you can keep your old ones to let them know your new email address. And I was like, wow, now that's something else. I had to decompress from the fear and put it in a special compartment. And I took action. So there was no unknown. I was making those small action steps. I feared the loss of my business, but there was something that clicked, just like you, Bonnie, inside that tested me as to how aligned I was with the business that I do. And I was 100% aligned. And I said, I'll be darned if I'm going to allow this person or this situation to end my coaching career. Plain and simple. And that's when I gained, when it says you're feeling about yourself, that was the first time I said, you really do love what you do and nothing's going to stop you. So
Ooh,
those are the thoughts that you have to have when this fear comes into your mind. What do you have control over?
mhm,
Everybody has control over something. You just
I
have to
do.
itemize it. Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Well,
Um,
you have been in the fear of the unknown yourself. So,
yeah, I have. And one time, I think someone said to me after I moved to Washington and I was just going along, she said, "Boy, you're really brave." I said, "Brave,"
yeah.
and I said, "I just didn't know what I was doing." I just opened this business, had no idea what I was doing,
Yeah.
but I was having so much fun. I guess the fear kind of went away. But here's my favorite quote from Mark Twain: "I've had a lot of worries in my life, most of which never happened."
That's right.
And so that's one of my faves, because I thought we worry and twirl and worry and twirl. And then really 5 years from then, you look back,
You
None
go,
of it ever happened.
wow, exactly.
So back to seeking out the companies or careers that have the same values as you do, that offer the benefits that you want, that have
Mhm.
the work-life balance you desire, and will challenge you to be your very best. Can you have it all? Maybe. Maybe not all at the same time,
Right,
but you will have that if that's what you choose.
right. And you have to sit back and go, of that list, what were the top three that were the most important and pick them out. And you can grab onto some of the other things somewhere else. Yeah.
Mhm. Now, we showed this slide a couple times ago, but
Yep.
your inner work reflecting your happiness, your alignment, elation, your satisfaction, joy, pleasure, inner peace, very important,
Hmm.
and your energy and vitality. How can you have the two together? They're very much in alignment, those two,
Yes. Yeah.
very much in alignment. And back to this, and Anna, I'd like you to talk about those consequences. If
Ah,
we don't, and I've known people, and you've known people,
yeah.
what is their life like?
Well, they're stuck in that nothing's ever going to work out for me syndrome.
Mhm,
So they don't attract any kind of action.
mhm,
And like you were discussing before, if you're not happy, you're not going to attract good things in your life.
right.
I'm not saying you have to be happy 24/7, but you have to be happy enough that somebody's going to approach you in a conversation.
Mhm,
And I can honestly say when you're not happy, you get ill. You can
mhm,
get headaches and stomach issues, and you can
mhm,
get blood pressure issues and things like that. So you're not doing yourself any favors here.
mhm, mhm,
It's very unhealthy.
mhm.
And those are the
Literally.
consequences of staying in a job or even a relationship for
Mhm,
too long. You know it. Your gut tells you, literally, your gut tells you that this is just not right.
mhm.
It's not right.
Well, we're gonna need to wrap this up. So let's see. So we'd like you to discuss some of these things of what you're finding out about yourself. And one of the things that we'd like to do is continue writing out your ideal work and business, but we'd love for you to contact us to
Mm,
find out what you want and the action steps that you need to take to make this plan B happen for you. And we both offer a complimentary 30 minutes to help you explore your career choices. Now, we can have that separately, we can have it together.
mhm.
The main thing is that we want you to know that our service to you, our joy, is to help others get what they want. And that truly is a joy of mine to help people find out what you want. And one of the things I specialize in is a home based business. And also, I wrote the book, How to Get a Job You Love. If you want to contact me, I'd love to give that out as a gift. And then, Anne, share a little bit about your 30 minutes that you
Well,
can
it's
help
if you
people.
call me, you've got an issue. Let me just tell you that you're very unhappy where you're working.
Mhm,
So my clients really range really from unemployed, people that have been working are very unhappy, or the active duty um, military or veterans. So if
mhm,
we talk, I'm going to really ask you some in-depth questions of what you really want from
mhm,
this coaching experience. Some
mhm,
people just want me for resume writing, but
mhm,
my core vision for you is to have you find out who you are first. Then we do the resume. Then we explore other options as to what is the most important thing for you
mhm.
in your next
Well,
career.
as always, Anne, I just love and adore you. Love sharing our mutual connection over helping other people live the life they've always wanted, working in a job they just adore, or changing into a whole new career, or
Yeah.
the transition itself. We're there for you. And thank you, Anne, for being on this program today. And we look forward to anyone that would like to contact us. We're there for you. So until next time, we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Have a great week, everybody.
Have a great week. Bye
Care.
bye now.
Bye.